Welcome everyone. If you're watching this, you're probably watching it on YouTube, which means that you're not watching it live on twitch.tv/Vedius Official, where I am currently with the chat. As you all know, the chat that I have with me is the greatest that exists in all of history. They are the smitest? Wow, English is not my forte today. They are the smartest minds all gathered into a single space and location that asks such thought-provoking questions, such as, if a triangle had 4 points, would it be a triangle plus 1? Along with, if music was round, what would it sound like? If you too want to be involved in such thought-provoking questions and conversations, come along to twitch.tv/Vedius Official. Even if you don't know, I appreciate it that you watch on my YouTube. Thank you very much. Hit the like button. I don't know what it does, but it's probably helpful, so do that. Thank you very much. Anyway, today we're going to be reviewing G2 versus Team Liquid. I'm not that tired today, which means that maybe I'll yawn significantly less, but I promise absolutely nothing. Okay then, let's get into it. Right, so G2 on the blue side, they were quite clearly target banned Mr. Impact, who's here. Right, sorry, forgot, normally he's here. He is blah 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 over here. So they want to try and pinch his champion pool. They know that Wonder's better, so they're going to try and put him in a more favorable matchup. Absolutely fine. Meanwhile, on TL side, they ban away Lucian, Twisted Fate, and Camille. They probably saw all the target bans towards top, and they wanted to remove Wonder's Camille, which, to be honest, G2 is probably going to first pick. So, makes sense. Twisted Fate, also a lot of respect going towards Caps, but also I think Twisted Fate is just generally pretty broken right now. I am surprised that they left Caitlyn open. I'm also kind of surprised that G2 don't pick it, but we can talk about that in a second. So, as we jump through the draft, of course, G2 first lock, Renekton. Why am I... My brain's weird today. So, Renekton, excuse me. Pardon me. Renekton first pick has become quite a common answer or thing in the meta right now, and many question marks often exist around whether or not this is a good first pick. I will say that when you have 4 top lane bans, this pick suddenly raises in priority pretty significantly. I think that Volibear is pretty much the only thing that you can pick into it, which means that you can actually ban away engage supports if you want to be clever, and then you can deny the ability for your opponents to engage while also giving you options to engage, potentially. On top of that, and sorry, like that kind of leads into a bigger point where if you've got Renekton and you've got Volibear, then your engage kind of has to come from these two gentlemen right here, which means that you can in theory pinch the pool and make it harder for a TL or a G2 to actually lock in, engage. Well, obviously, because G2 locked in the Renekton, they're kind of forcing the Volibear, which means that they're the ones trying to pressure Team Liquid, right? If they wanted to, as an option. So, the thing about Renekton, when there are very few answers left, I think that it's fine. Obviously, you need a way to enable it, which is why Nidalee should really be the expected priority. TL don't really want to do Nidalee Volibear. I mean, they in theory could, but they also know Brock's his champion pool, and he's not going to pick away the Nidalee, so they don't have to first pick it. He's going to lock in Graves. Lock in the Graves. Lock in Graves. Thank you. All right, we need to move this draft along a little bit more. Why am I not in double? That's the problem. So they go Renekton, Nidalee, and then they also lock in the Ashe, which they also consider a pretty good pick into Caitlyn if he gets locked in. But honestly, I think G2 should have done Caitlyn. Maybe they were worried about a potential lack of engage, because the Ashe can provide that with the Ashe arrow, but like maybe they also think that Caitlyn's just weaker right now. Maybe they don't play a very good Caitlyn. Who knows? They lock in Ashe, which is fine. I don't really like Kalista here, largely because I don't think Kalista's very good into Ashe. But it is a comfort pick for tactical. The problem is, or at least the draft currently suggests, that you want to try and play through bot, which means it's really important that you get mid prio. So counterpick mid is really important here. Which means that we expect TL to lock in support first, which will probably be Nautilus. So as we can see, more support bans coming through. So the Pantheon gets taken away. I think G2 should have considered banning... why did they ban Syndra? Perhaps they think that their comp isn't very good into Syndra. Well, one reason could be that they don't want Jensen to have... Well, the obvious reason is they don't want Jensen to have Syndra. The question is, why don't they want Jensen to have Syndra? It could be that they have a mid lane matchup in mind and Syndra does very well into it. It could be that TL... TL want to blind pick a mid laner, which they could do with Syndra, and then they could counter pick support, so that they have a winning 2v2 bot lane. So G2 could, in theory, be removing just the remaining strong blind mid laners, which right now is currently Syndra. But if they did lock in Syndra, I think G2 could just go Echo. But maybe they don't want to play Echo. Maybe they don't play Echo at all. Don't know. There's a couple potential reasons, but I don't know the exact reason why. So the support gets locked in here, which obviously then gives TL the ability to counterpick support. The set blind. Interesting. So like set Kalista is a very strong 2v2 bot lane, and you know that it's going to support. It's very obvious. The fact that G2 lock in Alistar is weird. So I was talking to Yamato about this. Obviously, Alistar provides a form of engage. But the problem with Alistar is that he doesn't synergize extremely well with Ashe, because Ashe has a very potent and powerful level 1, but Alistar does not. Which means that it's very difficult for them to do a lot in the lane. Now, admittedly, when Alistar gets level 3, maybe there are a few more things that he can do, but you've also got to remember that when playing against a champion like Kalista, if you go in, right, and then the Kalista, for whatever reason, avoids it, right, so this is Kalista, your only way to get back out is running. And so the Kalista can just keep chasing you down, and then you get killed. So engaging with the Alistar, I also think, is very dangerous. Also, you can Fate's Call your support out of danger, potentially. So I think there are a number of reasons why I'm not a massive fan of the Alistar pick. I understand the idea behind the engage. They probably think that Alistar is like... Against this many short-range champions, I can understand why they would want Alistar. Because, like, look at this. Like, a lot of this draft has to come into you, which actually just makes Alistar's life a lot easier, you know? Because it's one thing to be able to kite, but it's another thing that if you have to get in range to be able to kite, then Alistar's just like, boom, 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 right? They do win level 1 anyway. I don't think they do. Not with Set. I think Alistar could lose half his health if he's not careful at level 1. I think it's really dangerous in the bot 2 versus 2. Braum feels better? No. You don't want Braum in this situation, not even slightly. Because then you're like, the only way to start a fight is an Ashe, which is just not good. No, I think Nautilus was their other option. I'm not entirely sure why they wouldn't go for a Nautilus. Maybe they don't want to play Nautilus into Set. I don't really know that matchup super well. The Jace blind is kind of weird. Like, you kind of have a lot of poke. And again, in the context of range, like, this comp will really struggle to be able to get onto this comp if played well. Because you have the speed boost, you have really good poke and sustain with Nidalee, you've got long range Ashe. Like, everything about this comp basically keeps this comp at arm's length. So I think I understand the theory. I just think that this is a bit weird as a blind pick, because it makes it very easy for TL to go Orianna. So the main problem with TL's comp right now is that they don't really have a reliable form of engage outside of the Kalista plus Set. because you kind of Fates Call him in, and then he can use his ultimate, or he finds a flank maybe, and then he can ultimate. It's a lot easier for G2 when you have a speed up gate, and then Alistair's like, boop, 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 hello, and then there's an Ash Arrow follow up, or you can lead with the Ash Arrow, whatever you want really. Scaling's kind of weird. I would say initially that G2's comp outscales, but they are lacking a decent amount of AP damage. Like, it's not like Nidalee does no damage, right? But AD. Don't know. I think, like, even though you can make the same argument here, like AD, but I think Volleybet also has a fair amount of magic damage. Not that you would say that, you know, he's a magic damage champion, but I think that the damage that Orianna plus Kalista provides, like if I were to put like a damage rating, right? Like this damage rating is like a 5 out of 5 for AP champions, right? And then Kalista's like a 5 out of 5 for AD champions, right? And then you sit there and you look at Nidalee and she's like, well, her damage is dependent on her landing spears. Also, if she jumps in melee range of these champions, she's probably going to die because she's really squishy. So she's like a 3 out of 5 if we're being generous in terms of her AP damage output. On top of that, you've then got a Jace who's like, yeah, he can do a lot of damage, but he's also very skill shot dependent, and he also has to get very close to deal his damage, so he's more like a 3 out of 5 as well. So you're now kind of looking at this and you're like, oh, okay, the damage is a little bit lacking, but they do have good poke. You know, like playing around objectives, it's very easy for them to land their damage without getting punished for it. And because this comp is so short range and their engage isn't that easy to execute upon, like, okay, yeah, no, I can see that. Maybe that works out, you know? And then if they do try to engage, you then have an Alistair who can knock you back. You're then also diving onto a Renekton who's like, hello, choppy choppy. So, yes. I think I understand the idea behind G2's comp. It has a longer range. It, I think, is fine bot lane. I think it's fine top lane. Mid, I think it's fine for Jace early, but it will get a little bit harder as the lane progresses. Because I think Jace, just because he uses... Actually... it's close. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure on that mid matchup. I could see how Ori would be able to abuse it because she should have a range advantage over the Jace. Even though he's a ranged champion, he's quite short range as far as ranged champions go anyway. He typically does very well into melee champions, remember? Not necessarily other mages. There was a period in time where Jace mid was very good, but I don't necessarily think that that's right now. I think the power of Jace is that he can be flexible. There is the yawn. Hey, it's my special move. Is it a caps champ though? Well, I just assume all champs are caps champs, you know? Like, he's kind of earned the pedigree to be able to just do whatever. Full AD AP comps always backfire against this. They do, yes. If you run Corrupting Pond Phase Rush, not D-Blade Conqueror. Why specifically? What about Phase Rush makes it better than Conqueror? You say yawn like yawn? Shut up! Stop harassing me, chat. Oh, I've got the song stuck in my head now. Problematic. They know there's a ward. TL knows there's a ward there. So they go in through the bot side. Clever. So here's my issue with this play. I believe G2's level 1 is objectively weaker than TL's level 1. Right? So, Set, for anyone that hasn't played Set, how his autos work, right, is they have 2 punches. It's left and then right. And the right does slightly more damage than the left. But basically, you can actually do a lot of damage just punching people in the face very early on into the game, right? Pardon me. On top of that, Kalista, she starts E, level 1. There's no reason to ever not start level 1. That shit will keep stacking. Even if it's only level 1, in a level 1 fight, it just builds and builds and builds and builds, and it'll do more damage than most other abilities, right? On top of that, Graves, right? Graves in early levels obviously does a fair amount of damage. He's gated a little bit by the fact that he only has 2 shots, but you also run quick draw typically at level 1, so that you get that 3rd shot, and also it helps you kite camps. So you can also get like a decent amount of quick damage out very early. Meanwhile, G2 have Nidalee. I think Yanko starts Spear, and then you have Q damage, and then that's it. And then there's Ashe. I'm like, okay, fine. In an extended fight, I'd have a lot of faith in Ashe, which is also paired with an Alistar. So Alistar does less damage than the set. He can knock people up, but I don't think that matters because Jankos isn't going to be able to execute. So I just think they're out-damaged in every capacity. So the correct play here is bot lane returns to lane. They actually get priority on the lane, right? And they actually zone these two as they try to come back into the lane. Now, of course, you have to be careful because Brox is going to be right behind them. But you can chunk them out, move into there, and I think that the appropriate response is to just punish Tactical and KoJJ. Meanwhile, Jankos should be pathing up towards his top side and accept the fact that the bottom side jungle doesn't belong to him anymore. Now, because Volibear is where he is, Renekton's also going to be able to get an early push. What this means is that Renekton can move into the enemy jungle alongside the Nidalee so that they can look to contest this red buff, and so that potentially Jankos doesn't get 3 buffed and they just split the map. And splitting the map isn't that bad for Mickey and Perks. It's not great because, again, I don't think the level 1 is fantastic, but it's better than what's about to happen. They gamble, and they go for a fight. Now, this flash from KoJJ was lit. It was so good. Super good. And again, like, this is a situation where Mickey flashes in to get the knock-up to try and keep Yanko safe, but the damage is already done, bro. And now he doesn't have flash. His level 1 Alistar. Broxah steals away red buff. Yeah, it's rip. That's really giga bad. Because now it's a lot harder to contest enemy res when you're so far behind on tempo in the jungle. He also doesn't take all of the raptors, which I don't think is great. But maybe I'm wrong. Honestly, I'm not an expert on jungle pathing. I have a rough idea of like what you should and shouldn't do. But normally it's worth taking early raptors so that you can then come and take them again. But if Brox's plan is to not invade those raptors repeatedly, then maybe leaving one up is better. Because then it delays Jankos' second spawning of the raptors, which give you a lot of XP. So Broxah goes from buff to buff, which obviously makes it hard for Jankos to get 3 buffs. He does get top scuttle though, because the Renekton is pushing in top. And it does look like Tactical and KoJJ. Sorry, yeah, ended up losing on the push. But I think that's because KoJJ moved into the river to help Broxah get thingy. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Caps is getting donked. I really think it's a range difference. Oh, guys, the yawning started. Get used to it. The funny thing is I'm not actually tired. It just happens when I talk a lot. I yawn on cast all the time, but I have a cough button there so you guys don't hear it. So Orianna got a cheater recall off, which is great. Oh, I should move my camera. Sorry, I always forget this crap. Volibear can provide prior early versus Renekton whenever he wants. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. But in this situation, Impact got to lane later than Wonder, which means that his level 2 was later, which means that early levels, he was always going to be down. He also knows that his jungler's on the bot side, whereas Jankos has to be on the top side of his jungle, so the risk of him dying is very real. So he can't just get prior whenever he wants. It doesn't work like that. You have to kind of trade, because there's 5 people, there's an uneven number of people on the map, right? So there's a strong side and a weak side, and right now, for TL, bot side is the strong side. Now, TL look to try and punish the flash this Mickey. Ooh. That's actually a pretty good engage from Mickey. I quite like that. Force the flash out from Broxer if he didn't have. I actually thought that he wouldn't have it back up, but I don't think he used it. Is here where Wonder takes a bad trade? Maybe not. Ugh, so unlucky. Anyway, Tactical goes back and gets Cutlass, which is like, haha. By the way, remember I got first blood? And Caps is... actually, he's not doing too bad in mid lane. But he's going to have to back here, but that's fine because he has TP. He will be a TP disadvantage, though. As Broxer looks to be a pain. That's actually really good from Broxer. Really like that. So what does he do here? So I think he clears Krugs. He does Raptors. I'm lying. He looks for his Krugs, and then he realizes that they're gone, which he should have realized already, so I'm not really sure why he went to the Krugs in the first place. But then he went Raptors and knows that mid has Prio, and they recognize that Caps is low, so he thought that maybe he could get a sneaky pick. Instead, he just takes away the Raptors, which is still really good. And for some reason, Core JJ is mid, and he takes a plate. Well, actually, it's not weird that he's mid lane. It's not weird at all. Oh, this was fucking terrible as well. So let's just kind of pay attention to everything that happens at this point. So Ashe rotates into mid. Pay attention to where the bot wave is. Right? Let's actually follow it. So that wave is currently underneath the tower. Right? Then, I think Tactical freezes it just outside of tower range. So it will slow push. He can't stop that. But that's great for him. Because he's going to realize that the Ashe is already up here with the enemy team. I'm not sure why Perks actually comes all the way up here. What is his purpose? What is the Ashe purpose specifically? I understand Mickey being here. That's not too weird. Ashe being here is fucking weird though. Like, what was Perks' goal? Bomb me. What was his plan? What was the team trying to... Because they're not making a Rift Herald play, are they? That's clearly not the goal. Normally, when you bring your AD carry up like this, you're playing for a neutral objective. But because the Jace reset, they didn't get the Scuttle Crab. And now they're just here to punish Core JJ. But I don't understand why Perks is here. I don't normally read chat when I'm VOD reviewing. No, sorry. I don't normally. It just doesn't make a huge amount of sense. Because there's a wave stacking bot. He should know there's a wave stacking bot. Because you only have to look at it to realize it's a wave stacking bot. And he's level 4. So he needs to be bot lane. So Mickey roaming mid isn't that weird. Because, I mean, you also see Core JJ. It's very common for supports to go mid lane level 4. But why is Perks here? What is Perks' purpose? Maybe send Ashe mid and TPJ spot, but that doesn't make any sense either. This early on into the game. You wouldn't do that. Also, if that were true... Jace wouldn't TP to mid right now. Oh, there's so many questions I have. I'm going to have to DM Grabs and ask him. In fact, I'm going to DM him right now. Alright, sorry chat. Yankos already said it. Yankos spoke about this in Euphoria, did he? What did he say? Chat, what did he say? Explain. They were contesting Crab? Oh, he's fucking trolling. Okay, so their plan is to contest Crab. but they're just very late on the play. Like, very late on the play. Like, a century away from the play. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand comms well enough. But I feel like at this point, you have to appreciate that, like, you're not getting it. Like, I understand the idea, I guess. I understand the idea. I just don't agree with it. So the goal was to try and get Jankos back into the game. So the team is trying to play for Jankos here. I see. I see. But it's actually only focusing him even more because they get greedy for a kill. Man, the fact that Perks and Caps both flashed into... It's such a fantastic shockwave from Jensen. Like, he puts the ball perfectly because it's right in the choke point. It's right here. Oh, I didn't get my droid tool. It goes right here. Look at it. Oh, it's so good. Look at that. Look at that circle. Okay, that's not quite a circle, but you get my point. I can't believe Perks flashed as well. Oh, it's just so greedy. It's so greedy. Cap should have pivoted bot lane. I mean, maybe. But like the goal. Okay, guys. Okay. Let me explain. So the idea is, right? At level 4, let me show you. So it's very common at level 4 for supports to roam mid. Very common, right? Because like, it's a certain point in the game. I forget which wave number it is, but like one lane is usually pushing into the other, right? So there's either an opportunity to get a gank, also an opportunity to cover, right? But also it's the second spawning of scuttle crabs. Pardon me. So what happens if you move your support here is it can help your mid laner gain priority in the mid lane, especially if they're first, and then you can use your mid lane and support to then go and help secure the scuttle crab or counter jungle or do whatever you want. Because most plays you have to move through mid first and then you can go wherever you want. The reason why that is, right, is there are 2 people in mid lane. Here's 1, here's 2, right? And the way in which League of Legends works is numbers. Everything is revolved around numbers. There are very few situations where a 4 beats a 5. In almost every situation, 5 people will be better than 4. Unless you're like Giga Fed. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule, but as a general rule of thumb, in all League of Legends situations, 5 beats 4, right? So in this situation, with the idea of numbers in mind, if you have 3 people mid and 2 people mid, so G2 and TL, obviously the 3 people win, right? So the idea from G2 is to bring 2 people from bot lane up into mid. So then you go from 2 to 4. And now it's 4 versus 3. Oh look, now G2 get to win. Because they have numbers. And that means that it's easier for them to contest these objectives like Scuttle Crab. The problem is that by sending 4 people up here, you're then sacrificing all this farm down here. So you're making a trade, and that's generally how League of Legends works. If you're going to send 4 people up to a certain point in the map, right, so you've got 1-1 in top lane, you've got 4 versus 3 in mid lane, you've also got 0 versus 1 in bot lane. So while the 4 can push here, the 1 can push here. And that's how pro League of Legends works. That's why push priority and all this stuff is talked so much about, because it's all a numbers game. And that's why you hear casters give a lot of criticism to players that do things when they don't have information. because sometimes you'll walk into a bush and you don't know where everyone is. Like right now, what G2 know is Orianna's here, Kallista's missing, Volibear's missing. Volibear has teleport. So if Nidalee was to gank mid right now, that would be really dangerous because Volibear could TP in. Of course, Wonder can then adapt and pivot and do something as a result of that, but info like this is really important. So anyway, the whole reason why I'm doing all this spiel is because the reason why the Ashe and the Alistar, according to Yankos, is moving into mid lane is so that they can help contest for the Scuttle Crab. The problem is I just think they're very late. Caps took a really bad trade in mid, which means that he's forced to reset. Broxah gets immediate priority on the river. Core JJ is here first, so TL have tempo. And they already arrive way too late at the objective. Which means that now their purpose is obsolete. And instead, they see an opportunity to get a kill, which in theory is good, but they flash into a choke point against a set with true damage and an Orianna with an ultimate. And so they all die. Griefers. Could G2 trade the Scott for Drake? No. Not in this situation, they couldn't. I think it was just a mistake bringing Perks up. But like, now you have to appreciate that what's just happened to Perks is he's lost 2, maybe 2.5, 3 waves to Tactical. Tactical was already ahead because he had a kill. Now Tactical is really far ahead. Like, really far ahead. Like, he's going to hit 6 the second Perks ticks 5. And again, we're in a situation where Broxah then gets to snowball this even further because Nidalee is forced to base. The red buff just respawned. And because Jensen can keep pushing mid because Caps is dead and he doesn't have teleport, he can actually invade. And his bot lane has push. So I just want to use the numbers situation again. Look, 2 versus 3. So I know in this specific situation, it's not 3 people. But because bot lane is pushed, mid lane is pushed, the jungler is here, it's very easy for Orianna to come. It's very easy for Kalista to come. Because even if they get nothing, they don't lose anything. Whereas G2 do. They're losing farm bot lane. They're losing farm mid lane. And that's how Prio works. That's why in solo queue, right, when the enemy Katarina roams bot, it's because of one of 2 things is happening. Number 1, they're a moron. They haven't bothered to push the wave, and they've just gone, fuck it, I'm going bot lane, which means that even though they might get a kill or 2 bot lane, your mid laner is actually over here, and he's just taken a whole wave, and he's now actually really far ahead, even though the Katarina got 1 or 2 kills. Or the Katarina has shoved the wave in, and your mid laner is stuck underneath their tower, which means that they have to catch this farm. Otherwise, even if they just follow the Katarina, they're going to lose out. Because if Katarina gets no kills and you get no kills, Katarina still wins. So, toxic, yeah, sorry. But sometimes players in solo queue are dumb and they don't push waves. They'll just go bot lane. And you're like, why are you bot lane? You're level 8. The enemy mid laner is level 10. I've seen far too many moron Katarinas. No hate to Katarina players. I love Katarina. She's one of my favorite champions. She is actually my favorite champion. So anyway, this is like good from TL, by the way. This is one of the big criticisms that many analysts had, was that North American teams wouldn't do shit like this. They wouldn't use their pressure appropriately. Whereas TL currently is, which is good. If they're feeling really ballsy, they can go for a Drake here, but it's quite ballsy. So Core is now moving with his jungler to continue the counter jungle. And now Brox is level 6, Tactical level 6, Jensen level 7. It's like, it's already doomed. Oh, God, it's just so doomed already. This is why the level 1 play was just so important. But it got made so much worse because G2 made one bad decision. That was the bad trade I remember undertaking. So right now, imagine a swimming pool, okay? Here's a swimming pool, right? Here's the shallow end, right? And here's the fucking deep end, okay? And in this deep end are sharks, right? There are sharks in this deep end. I know it looks like grass, but ignore that. This is where G2 is right now, right? Meanwhile, TL is like outside the pool, right? They're just looking in. They're like, fucking idiots, right? But initially, at the level 1, G2 is here, right? They're in the shallow end, right? That's where they were. They're in the shallow end of the pool. But now they're in the deep end with the sharks. And the sharks have lasers. Yeah, so that's kind of the situation. That summarizes G2's current situation. They're in the deep end with sharks that also have lasers. Caps doesn't get to play mid lane because Core JJ gets to do whatever the fuck he wants. What was that reset? Let's have a look. What the fuck is this? Get off. Sorry, I'm swearing too much. I apologize. So they catch bot wave. And they reset here. Oh my god, this gives so much freedom for... What do they reset for? Get Vamp Scepter? Maybe they're worried about getting dived because Nidalee is topside. Now they see the Graves and now they're like, ah, rip. Callista gets so much. Oh my god. The sharks are coming closer, chat. He can't do this. He's too weak. Oh wow, Broxer just doesn't give a fuck. Broxer, I don't think you're allowed to do that, my chief. Yes, that was a mistake. That was a really dumb mistake too. So, chat, remember what we were saying, right? So all Brox has to do in this position is look at the minimap, right? He just has to look at the minimap, okay? So we're going to look at the minimap. I wish I could enhance it, but I can't, right? But I will do another slightly larger minimap up here so that you can see, right? So right now, here is where all of the TL players are. Here, 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 and here, okay? So remember what we were saying about numbers earlier, right? TL do not know where Jace is. They do know that because bot has just pushed in, they're going to move. Because they can. Remember, based on what we were talking about earlier, right? Renekton also has pushed in, which means he can also move, right? So you've now got bot lane moving, top lane moving, and you don't know where mid lane is. So you can see how Graves entering this situation would put himself in a 1 versus potentially 4. That's no bueno. No bueno. Therefore, this decision was probably not a good one, especially seeing as there are wards in there as well. So look, Renekton comes down, Ashe. Oh, Ashe gets spotted on a ward. Broxer immediately realizes, I've made a mistake. But he could have known he'd made a mistake significantly earlier if he'd looked at the minimap. And now G2 get to do it. Because again, they use their bot prio and whatnot to collapse. The problem is, Tactical's level 8! He's level 8, chat. He's level 8! Oh. Like, the theory behind the play is fine, but like, Perks is at such a deficit right now that he just can't. And I'm not saying this is Perks' fault, right? I'm really not flaming perks here, I swear to God. Because the pushing in bot and the rotate up is not unreasonable. The problem is you're already down in plates bot side, right? And no plates have been taken top. So typically in a situation like this, what you would do is you would take Herald, you would then siege top, and then you would trade sides of the map. So the way in which you kind of get perks back into the game is if you funnel gold into him topside. So okay, he's behind in farm, he's behind in experience, he's behind in whatever, right? You can compensate by getting him turret plates. So perks comes to top lane, right? They do the Herald. Fine. Caps also helps because he pushes in mid. Also fine. So again, the goal here should be to send perks up to top lane with Jankos. I think they should have given perks the thing. And then you trade sides of the map. So you can see them here. Look, grouping top, pushing onto the tower. And then they're going to drop the Rift Herald. Problem is, they don't have a stacked wave. So that's the first problem. Bot tower drops. What the fuck is Broxer doing? Wait, actually, this is fine. I'm griefing. Brox is fine. I'm griefing. Ignore what I just said. Brox is fine. So, TL get bot tower. Then the Rift Herald comes down. Perk gets more gold. Jankos also needs gold because he's behind. Fine, whatever. So they put some more farm back into perks. Meanwhile, the bot wave gets all the way pushed underneath the tower. Renekton's going to get some of it. But just look at Tactical. He's so fed. And again, like, I think this play is actually the correct one. Because I think this is how you try and funnel some gold back into perks. But it's like, it's really bad. Because I don't think they can just keep laning 2 versus 2. Because you also can't afford to give Broxer the Herald. Because then shit gets really bad. If he just picks up a Herald for free, that's bad. So now they put perks mid, and this is what you expect. Perks will go mid, Caps will go top, probably, because he has TP, and then Renekton will go somewhere else. Oh, what an ult from Core JJ. That was great. That's really good by him. So Tactical has to be careful here. Now the big brain plays to TP in behind him and kill him. Oh, but they didn't do it. Sag. Man, Ashe is moving way too much. Ashe needs to just plant her feet in mid. I guess their eyes are like, maybe we can get a pick here. But because look, Ashe is going to lose another farm, a wave in mid lane. Jankos is going to get it. Meanwhile, Tactical is just like, I'ma take all the CS because it's my birthday, whoa. And now, let's have a look at what happens. So, guys, there's a number of cool things that happen here. So props to TL. TL's doing a good job here, but watch. I'll show you. So, let's go back to our numbers example again, chat. So, what you'll notice is that there are currently 2 people in the mid lane. I'll do my box again. Boop, 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 boop. So, that's, I know, understand. Right, so there's 2 here, there's 1 here, and then there's 2 here, okay? G2, on the other hand, have 3 here, 1 here, and then 1 down here, right? So, on the top side of the map, in total, TL actually have 5 people versus 4, right? Because they've brought the volley bear up, which enables them to be able to get priority on pretty much whatever they want, right? Now, in theory, Tactical and Core JJ can't actually enter this river because they're in a bit of an awkward spot, but because this wave is pushed in a little bit, Caps has to go catch it. They're a little bit split up. Bish, bash, Bob. Bob's your uncle. But the most crucial thing is because the 3 actually went up here, there's only 1 in mid. And so, because these guys were already pushing this in, right, this 3 now has to catch the wave. They're a little too late, right? Meanwhile, the 2 in mid can just push in the mid wave and there's no one that can stop them. What does that mean? Oh, well, the 2 in mid can now move into topside river. That's why these guys can actually move down. Broxer can also move in. And now you'll recognize, oh, look, it's that 5v4 we were talking about. Renekton stuck bot lane. This means that TL can actually move into the enemy topside jungle, give the freedom and space for Tactical to be able to hit onto this tower. And then Caps is just really sad because he gets more farm denied away from him. Now, of course, there's only so much and so long they can stay there, which then gives G2 an opportunity to come back. But like a lot of this early game has basically just come down to the fact that TL have utilized their pressure quite well, but also G2 have kind of moved Perks around the map a lot, and he has only been falling behind as a result, which is where this massive gold deficit is coming from. Now, of course, the same can be said for Impact. He's pretty much entirely played the game on the weak side of the map, but you'll notice he is only a level down, and like he's not really relevant to this game. But like, yes, you can also say that Impact has also been zoned away from a lot of farm. He has been given very little, but like the difference in turret plates, you can see them. And all that gold has pretty much been funneled onto Tactical. And just look at the item differences. Look at the item differences. Top lane, there's like barely anything. Maybe Renekton hasn't gone back to base. But like, Blade of the Ruin King Zeal versus Cutlass. If I'm Ashe, I'm like, I want to FF. I do not want to play this game. It's not worth playing. I am being griefed. And again, I'm not actually saying that this is Perks' fault, because it's unfair of me to put this on a single player, right? Because I don't know who made the call to bring Perks up to join the team in assisting him in contesting that Herald. I also don't know, like, I can criticize Perks for flashing in and trying to kill that set, but I can also criticize Caps for that, right? But it was the decisions that they made as a team that has put the Ashe in this position, ultimately. So I can't really blame an individual for it, and I think it's unfair to do so. It's basically what you would call... It's not necessarily bad macro, but I suppose you could call it bad macro. Because it's related to, like, the map movements, right? I suppose. But they've made decisions, and the decisions have not panned out. And you can understand the logic in their decisions. The problem is the execution is just kind of fallen short. Meanwhile, TL have just been chilling. They've played with pressure pretty well. And then they fuck up. Alright. So... my head hurts. What the fuck happens? So the thing is... Like, we obviously haven't seen the rest of this game yet. But, like, there seems to be this consensus that TL was just, like, playing without fear. And, like, so far in this game, I would say that I haven't really seen that. I think that they've just played the map better than G2 have. And honestly, G2 have just been making a lot of mistakes, which Tactical has just been like, okay. But, like, you know, pretty much consistently throughout this VOD review, I've tried to talk a lot about, like, the numbers, you know. I've been trying to explain, like, who has numbers advantage, why that matters, how that gives who the ability to move where. And TL have taken advantage of that, and they've used that very well, you know. And so, like, I think that this was one of the better games from Broxah, 100%. 100%. But I wouldn't necessarily say that they've been, like, significantly more aggressive than they normally are. So I'm not sure that I'm bought into this idea that they were, like, playing without fear. I don't know, but maybe that comes later, you know. We're only 15 minutes into the game. So let's kind of backtrack and see how this shit in the mid lane happens. So kind of in the light of the numbers thing, again, we can see G2 currently have 3 people towards the bot side, 2 in mid. Ashe is resetting. Alistair's like solo pushing mid for some reason. Alistair recognizes there are 3 in mid, trying to push in the wave. And so G2 see an opportunity to force a play, because this is where they can actually create even numbers. So they know Impact is bot lane because of the wave. They know Tactical is top and he doesn't have teleport. Mickey is in mid and they have a teleport which they can use to force a fight. So the Ashe comes through. Really good knockup from Mickey. It's a shame Mickey gets the kill and they end up trading another one. So this was a great play overall from G2. Because again, like, I'm going to keep referencing these numbers things, right? So what we saw there was a bit of a cross map, right? So I'm going to draw my square again. Okay, I need a bigger square. So Tactical is top, pushing in, right? And bear in mind at this point, TL only want to play through Tactical, okay? So, like, initially, TL were, like, playing through this top side of the map, and, like, this all belonged to them, which means that G2 is basically trading on the bottom side, right? So this is G2. So they kept their Ashe and their Alistair here. The Kalista was up here, and then the rest were like moving into this bot side jungle, threatening a dive onto like Impact, who's like, "Ugh!" But he has to play weak side. That's his responsibility this game. Suck it up. Which he does a good job of. I'm not flaming Impact, just for the record. He's doing a great job. So, yeah, it's like trading cross maps, right? So then what happens is TL recognize that Kalista's, okay, Kalista's fine. We got info on where some people are. They're largely bot side. So let's push in mid, right? But what they end up creating is this 1-3-1 situation. Now, because Kalista doesn't have TP, and because Volibear is stuck under the tower catching this wave, it actually gives the opportunity for G2 to force a 3v3 play in mid. So Jace resets here and TPs into mid. Ashe Arrow is used to force a play, and then the Alistair and Nidalee come in from the bot side river. Right, now, you could argue that TL should expect this. If a play is going to happen, it's going to happen from the bot side of the map. The thing I don't think they anticipate is the Ashe Arrow coming through and the TP response. So I think this is what you would call a pretty good play from G2, because it's like recognizing the map state and then seeing an opportunity for a play. Because going for a 3v3 that doesn't include tactical is really good for them. Does that make sense, chat? Does that make sense? Monka, So, you know, that top tower gets pushed in. Now, in an ideal world, what wants to happen is Ashe is actually just able to freeze and can just sit in top lane and try and close that gap. You know, level 11 tactical, level 8 perks. You know, that'd be great. But I don't think that's going to happen. You just sack this Drake, in my opinion, and you just try and freeze top. But he's not able to do that because the minion wave hit the tower. Really nicely done by Mickey there. Really nice. So because Ashe is pushing in top lane, they've already conceded the Drake. Because there's no way that Ashe is going to be able to get from top lane to Drake in time. You need to be moving at like 40 seconds, which means that TL get first on the objective. Because they bring their numbers mid and bot. So G2 are trying to make the cross map, which is the Rift Tower trade, which is fine. They try. Oh, that was actually so insanely close. I think the Ashe Arrow actually should have come out first. Or earlier even. Oh man, if that ult comes out earlier and tactical dies here, this game gets so different. That was actually a huge fuck up from tactical. He should have known they were here. Man, Mickey with the brains. Fuck man, that was super close. That could have been huge. And again, like this is something you can say about G2, which is that they are very willing to look for these opportunities. That could have been huge. That could have literally swung the game right there. If tactical dies, you get a shutdown, you get a lot of XP, you get to invade, steal a lot of camps, you get to make plays on the map, you can drop that Herald mid, you take tier 1, like a lot of shit suddenly starts to happen if tactical dies there. So like huge flash from tactical. If that arrow hit him, yikes. That could have been bad for TL. Perk shot the arrow the second it came off cooldown. Oh. You're right, chat. Didn't look at that. You're right. Fuck, man. That is just such fucking bad luck. Alright. See YouTube? This is why chat's so clever. Good job, chat. So clever. Could Rakton have flashed on him? No, probably not. Nah, no way. Nah, you know what the play is? Caps flashes in ease. Good job, Chais. Good job, Chais. Good job, chat. Tried to say guys in chat and ended up with Chais. Okay, Ash catches mid-wave. Alright. But you can see how powerful level 1s can be in this meta. Like, the level 1 has determined so fucking much. Oh, Daddy Tactical. It's not who I wanted to talk about. Core JJ is who I wanted to talk about. Alright. Look at the minimap. Look at the minimap. Let's watch Core JJ. He just fucking legs it. That guy is just sprinting. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a flying fuck. There he just doesn't. Look at how he just yeets perks. Boop ba doop ba doop ba doop. Hello there. Woo! That was definitely Jensen's fault, by the way. Do not blame Core JJ for that. There is not a universe where Core JJ lands a stun here. He knows what he's fucking doing. I think Jensen was the troll. Look how much damage Core JJ does, though. Oh, wow, okay. So, by the way, this is really important. So, the auto here hits perks, which applies 1/2 of the passive from Callista W. Which then, when Core JJ lands his auto, look how much damage that does. It procs it, which then takes a huge amount of his health. If that auto from Tactical didn't come through, that actually wouldn't have, they wouldn't have actually got the kill. The instant TP from who? Renekton. That was a good dive from Core JJ. Daddy Core. Is it Core Daddy? Is it Daddy JJ? I don't know. Chat, you decide. And then they translate that to bot. Nicely done, TL. Nicely done. Yep. Thing is, they were probably going to get this tower anyway. There was very little that the Ashe probably could have done about it. It was just Core JJ saw an opportunity. I think that if there were other wards, like there's a ward literally in the middle of the lane, but even that's a little dangerous. No, I think it's a pretty good dive, in my opinion. But I blame Jensen. Either way, it was just a coordination error. It happens. It's really not a big deal. It's whatever. But TL get a lot of this. So I really didn't like this. I remember watching this from TL and I'm like, TL's trolling. So, chat. Another lesson in macro for you. How do I want to start this? So, tempo is a thing, right? We, casters, specifically, what the fuck? T-E-M-P-O. Okay? We casters don't like talking about tempo because it's a strange concept that's not easy to explain, and a lot of your average fans don't know what tempo means. But you will hear pro players use it all the time. They'll say, we have tempo, okay? Now, one of the easiest ways, and one of the best ways, well, I've had tempo explained to me in a few different ways, and this is also one of our problems. Different pros will tell you what different definitions of tempo is. But I think that pretty much everyone would agree when a team has or doesn't have tempo, right? But one of my favorite explanations, right, is tempo, you need to think of it like a resource bar, okay? So when you're pushing out waves, right, your resource bar fills up, okay? So all of this now becomes full, okay? So this is your tempo bar, right? So when you build tempo up, what you do is you can spend it, right? And you can spend your tempo on taking objectives, on getting vision, on whatever you want, right? But you spend your tempo, right? So what TL did was they won that fight. They got mid tower. They then moved through bot, right? And then they got bot tower, okay? That's fine. But their tempo bar has now gone down. So their tempo bar has gone from full 2, empty. Right? So you don't have any tempo left. Okay? So the way in which you refill your tempo bar is you need to reset. And normally in this period, G2, their tempo bar is full now. It's their turn to spend their tempo, right? And they're going to do stuff, like they're going to get vision. And like that's how the game generally works. It's like an ebb and flow. Teams kind of trade in tempo. And normally what happens is like, usually when TL has tempo, like this, G2 is kind of in this situation where they need to replenish their tempo. And like, that's not true in every instance. It doesn't perfectly work like that. But for the ease of execution and for simplicity's sake, just for now, this is the easiest way to understand it, right? So TL, they had tempo, G2 was kind of forced to catch, and then the moment TL spent their tempo, G2 were then the team that kind of had their turn to do things on the map. Now, of course, from TL's perspective, they're like, well, you've only got 4 people alive, we have 5, and now we're going to collapse on you while you're trying to spend your tempo. Now, that is really dangerous, okay? The reason why it's dangerous is because technically not your turn to do anything, right? You need to catch waves. You need to spend gold. You need to do a lot of things before you can start doing things on the map again. But TL don't do any of that. Bear in mind, this is still part of the same play that just happened mid lane. They haven't spent any of the gold that they just got. They haven't replenished any of the wards. They haven't completed any items. So they're still in the same state that they were in not too long ago. And now they're going for another fight. When minion waves are crashing into towers, when Perks is able to come back out onto the map and start pushing waves, it's very dangerous to do things like this. So TL chasing this is very greedy and very risky, especially if they don't get anything for it. And then lo and behold, Tactical dies. So at this point, you're like, TL just threw the game. And that's what I was thinking in when I was watching. Right? This is just very greedy. But also the execution on it, right, was just poor. Because G2 at this point, like, even though there's a 3k gold gap, that gold gap at this point is not actually that. It's a much lower gold gap. They're also chasing into G2 into a funnel. Like, the positioning on it is just poor. There's a mid wave that's just dying to the tower. There's a top wave. And Baron's literally about to spawn. The only reason why TL don't come off worse here is because Ashe isn't actually in the fight yet. If Ashe was here, this could have ended so much worse. But now, look off the back of this. Remember, it's still G2's turn. TL haven't reset yet, which means that they're going to lose this tower. And this, there's a good chance that this gets pushed into the next one as well. TL still haven't reset yet. Why haven't they reset yet? How much gold is this Graves sitting on right now? Jensen hasn't backed you either. All right, I'm looking at the items when they finally reset. Can they please reset? So what does Volibear complete? Black Cleaver. Okay, chat. He had a Kindle Gem and a Health Crystal. And he just fucking completed Black Cleaver. Imagine if he had a Black Cleaver in this fight. No, it's more than 1,700 gold, I think. Yeah, I think it's more than 1,700. Graves also completed Black Cleaver. What did Graves have? Oh, he had a Phage. Okay, so Graves was probably quite poor. By the way, for the record, the Callista, before she died... Wait, did the Callista spend? No, she can't have. Maybe she just wasn't that rich. What did Callista buy after she died? Was it just the QSS? Maybe Callisto was actually quite poor, which is kind of weird. I would have thought that they would have a lot more money off the back of that. Either way, TL kind of threw there. It was a dumb play. I don't want to watch this replay again. Yeah, I think that play was pretty greedy from TL. It helps that Mickey's really fucking good at the game. Okay, so now... Wait. I'm wondering if TL could trade for Baron here. Because when G2 invest 5 people to kill a volley bear... So they push mid, they catch top. They're like, let's just kill volley bear. Graves is mid. He's alone. He's also clearing a ward for some reason. So I think the biggest thing here is the positioning of perks. And that's kind of what I want to watch. I think Perks needs to move down with Yankos now. Yeah, but he tries to he tries to separate himself from the settle, which I understand. He doesn't realize that he puts himself in range of the Orianna. Mickey does a good job of zoning Broxer. And this QSS, by the way, from Tactical was really insane. Because Wonder, like, sees the play. He's faking that he's going to go onto Jensen, and then he flashes on top of Tactical. And with that stun, that would have been spear into kill. Which is why I called Tactical. I made a tweet saying, like, he's a little smurf. He played this fight really well. Like, he really played that fight really well. I mean, he died at the end, sure. But that's because he expends the flash, right? Yeah, he gets a little greedy to kill Wonder. But he also sidesteps a lot of the damage from Yankos initially. And then Mickey has to commit his life for it. And then Jensen can just clean up. Which is why, like, I wasn't that impressed by Jensen this game. Because I felt like a lot... he was just kind of cleaning up. Do you know what I mean? He has 5 kills. But I'm like... Don't get me wrong. It's not like he's played badly. But I'm like... Core JJ has done so much more in this game than I think Jensen has. In my opinion. Core JJ is MVP for sure. So, I mean, ultimately, it's a good punish. And I think that, if I'm being honest, like, you probably can't trade for Baron. You probably can't. I think that you won't do it fast enough. And also, G2 have teleport. So, I'm just trying to think. Like, a lot of teams would just rush Baron here. But maybe because Orianna's base, it's even worse. Core JJ just buys so much time. That was a good shockwave. Because it kills perks. I think perk catch maybe should have tried to help here. For me, he recognizes that the fight's over. Yeah, because, like, what's he going to do? It's not like he's going to dive onto a Callisto, is it? Well, that was good. It was ultimately a good fight, well played by TL. Perks had a rough game. Like, they've just made Perks' life really miserable. He's still laughing. Guys, I know Orianna did a lot of damage. I get it. Jensen played very well. I'm not flaming him, I promise. He's a good player. Don't be upset. Impact's kind of trolling a little bit here. This is a good TP. Honestly, at this point, I'm like, go Baron. The problem is, like, they have 2 TPs, which is why the TP is actually the better play. Impact does pretty well there, and then Jensen just cleans up because Cap's his flash is just about to come up, but he dies as it comes up. Meanwhile, Alistair is dying in mid lane. How did Alistair die mid lane? It was a good TP from Jensen. I actually quite like this TP. They just see Mickey trying to collapse on bot. Interrupting rather, and he gives up his life for it, which is kind of sad. And that was again just a really good punish from TL. Good use of the teleport. G2 trying to find picks and they get punished for it. TP. Oh, good QSS from Perks. Oh, Core JJ kind of inting. Yep. Yeah, both teams just want to reset at this point. Wait, did TL actually try to stop Baron? I mean, it's actually, well, yeah, okay, that is kind of griefing. Because you can't go for these kills and go for Baron as well. Because remember the tempo meter? Like, these kills were quite long. Meanwhile, the waves, you still have to catch them. So you kind of have to spend your tempo pushing out waves, and then you have to kind of reset. Well, not completely, because you can get vision here. So you can get Baron vision, and then you can reset. I think. But I think you can't just do the Baron. Because G2 will just TP back in. Unless your whole plan is to bait TPs, which is also fine. But then there's a risk that G2 then choose to do the Baron as you're trying to reset. So, yep, a bit of a greedy play there from TL. And they still make mistakes. They do so many better things and then they don't. Alright, but what the fuck is G2 doing? What the fuck is this? So Oriana's base, yes. They think they've caught Broxer out, but that was a really nice sidestep from Broxer. And then the collapse from mid comes, and then Mickey's still going in when there's a tower there. Jankos dies, and then this is probably Baron. I don't know. This wasn't the play. This was not the play. This was not the play. I think their idea was, we've caught Graves, let's just kill him. He's greeting for Krugs. Turns out, harder to kill than you thought. The thing is, they re-engaged. They also could have backed off here. Like, they knew where they were. Look, Renekton's literally walking with the Kalista and the Volibear. Like, fucking go. Wait. Wait. This wasn't supposed to happen. Griefers. That was a pretty bad team fight. I think there's a world in which G2 could actually still turn this game around. But that fight was really bad. And then Baron goes, and now the game is over. Overall play. G2, I don't think, lost this in draft. They lost because of overall play. I think I understand the idea behind their draft. But, like, everything got fucked at level 1. Literally everything. Literally everything. And now they're forced to fight. They don't have any other choice. Whew. Initially looks like a good team fight. Not enough, though. Sucks to suck. That's game. That's game, right? Well, I mean, TL definitely played better than G2 did this game. That's for sure. Only Perks is capable to lose with Ashe against... That's unfair. Don't think this was his fault. Do I think Jace... Well, I mean, yeah, later on the game, the Jace is definitely less value than something like a mage, but, like... Man, like, I don't know. It's hard for me to criticize the draft when I didn't really get to see it used properly because this game was so fucking weird. Like, the early game was so bad for G2. Like, you can criticize the draft if you want. Things could have gone better, but I'm still like... I don't know. You put yourself in such a fucking awful position and then you picked really terrible late game fights. That was a bit ambitious. I mean, the Nidalee doesn't do any damage, so they don't even need to itemize magic resistance. Which then only makes it harder to win fights later on into the game. They almost kill Tactical. And if they kill Tactical here, they get Baron, then maybe there's a way to turn it around. But they don't, and then everything goes to poopy poop. Well, I was good level 1 from TL. Pretty good level 1. My overarching thoughts would be TL definitely played better. I wouldn't say that they like played without fear. I guess I'm not entirely bought into this idea that they played significantly differently than they did before. I definitely think that there was improvements. I think that Broxah played much better, but I think that all of his wins have also been on Graves. So, like, it's clearly one of his better champions, and it's something that in the current meta he can find success on. They were also able to get early prio and kind of had an easy game to play because they won the level 1 so hard. Getting first bloods, like, everything. So, like, because of how well the early game went, there were a couple moments where TL took one bad fight, in my opinion, where Tactical died, and it could have been a lot worse because they could have lost Baron then and there. They came close to throwing, but they didn't. And then they were able to win, like, the bot lane fight, which is also really good for them. It's like, TL had a good game. I'm still not convinced. I think G2's just, like, really inconsistent right now. And even that game versus Suning, they didn't look great. I think that there's a very good chance that G2 end up second in this group. Because I'm not super confident that they'll win against Suning based on how their early games are going. And early games are interesting because, like, when it comes to international events, G2 actually kind of always had pretty weak early games. Make it a Group A, and who won't let TL celebrate with the victory will be the last one? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if TL get another really good start like that, I think TL with a good lead can kind of do whatever they want. But, like, I don't know. I think G2, if they just slow down a little bit, maybe if they stalled for longer, but maybe they were forced to fight because things like the Drakes. I don't know. Yeah, wasn't a great game from G2 at all. Yeah. I look forward to the rematch. It's day 1 on week 2 of groups as well, so it should be a good one. Yeah, but basically they just need to not run it down early game. Level 1, very important. I hope that G2 plan for it. But again, props to TL. They played well. Impact, king of the weak side. Anyway, that's going to do it for the VOD review. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something. I certainly did. So, thank you very much for watching on the YouTube. Have a wonderful day. Leave a comment. Leave a like. I don't know what that does, but I think it's really helpful, so please do it. If you've made it all the way to the end, comment with a "chat is so smart," Because then I'll know that you've seen it all the way to the end. Then I'll know. But don't give it away. You know, don't let people know. You know, kind of do it subtly. You know, like, haha, wow, Vedius, great content. Also loved how smart the chat was. Winky face. You know what I'm saying? You know, like subtly get it in there. You know what I'm saying? So that the other people who only watch like the first 15 minutes, or they're like skipping about, that they don't, you know, cheat. You know, because I know who the truers are. Then you know what I'm saying? Yeah, winky face. Winky face. All right, thank you for watching. Catch you on the next one. Bye bye.